So first off, content types define default settings for the nodes that they're going to create, although these settings could be overridden for any individual node. So as we look at the relationship between content types and nodes, let's look at a contrast between articles and basic pages. So while it's available for any content type, with a basic page, comments are hidden by default, whereas with an article, they're open by default. Now, in Drupal, comments are a social feature that can be attached to any content type. For example, I could have an article with comments, and threaded comments could be added by users with appropriate positions attached to any node of that particular type. So I configure these comments in the content type definition itself. For the content type, one of the settings is for comments, and the basic setting is open, closed, or hidden. Should comments be available, but closable later? Closed by default, but potentially openable for a particular node? Or should they be completely hidden and unavailable? You can also control whether they're threaded, how many per page, whether there's a title, whether a reply form should appear on the same page as the comments, and also control how previewing happens. Is it disabled, optional, or required? You must also have an appropriate role in order to add comments. So there's a set of permissions on the People Permissions screen, controlling whether people can administer, view, post, skip approval, and edit their own comments. These are all different based on the user role, whether a completely anonymous user just visiting the site, someone authenticated, or an administrator. Later, we'll be looking at how custom roles can be created with their own permission sets. Let's go in and take a look how comments would be implemented for a content type and how they work. So I'm going to start by looking at the article content type. So I'll go to Structure, Content Types, and edit my article content type. Now, there's a lot to this screen. We're only going to look at some of it here, but I'll find and go to my comment settings. And what we see here is that by default, for new nodes of the article content type, commenting will be open. It'll be threaded, 50 per page with a title, show reply on the same page, preview is optional. Okay, got it. Let's create one. I'm going to go to Add Content and add a node of the article content type. I'll give it a title. Let's see. Resist much, obey little. Whitman and poetry as tags. Choose a file. I've got an image here for leaves of grass. I'll add a bit of lorem ipsum text to this article. And take a look at the comment settings for the particular node. Now, this is a different screen. Here we're looking at the comment settings for this specific article, which by default are open because that's what the content type defines as the default. But I could close them later if the conversation is finished. I'll go ahead and save this, and because articles are promoted to the front page by default, I would see not only can I review it here, but if I go to my front page, I see my article. Now, I could also add a comment, because that's, again, the feature here. I'll add some comment. I see that previewing is optional. I'll go ahead and save my comment. I could grab and reply to the comment. Save the change, and we have threaded commenting appearing on our article. Now, because of how the permissions are configured by default, if I logged out and looked at this as an anonymous user, the anonymous user is able to see that there are comments, but would have to log in or register to post their own. We'll be looking at how that works next.